In the burning heart of the 20th century, while the Arab-Israeli conflict dominated headlines and Middle Eastern tensions boiled over, another story was quietly taking shape far from the world's cameras. In the harsh, wind-carved deserts of Libya, a boy from a nomadic family was nurturing a revolutionary dream. His name was Muammar Gaddafi. Born among camel herders and goat grazers in the village of Qasr Abu Hadi, he wasn't fascinated by wealth or fame. He was consumed by a single blazing conviction: to free Libya from foreign dominance and topple the monarchy that bowed to Western interests. Nobody then could have guessed that this desert child would one day become one of the most dominant, polarizing, and controversial rulers of the modern era. Gaddafi didn't just imagine revolution, he embodied it. He would eventually overthrow Libya's monarchy in a nearly bloodless coup, force out British and American forces, and elevate Libya from a struggling desert nation to one of the wealthiest societies per person in the world. But power is a seductive force, and over 4 decades, Gaddafi's leadership would drift from idealism to paranoia, from nation builder to regional villain, from revolutionary to hunted man, pleading for his life in a sewer pipe. This is the extraordinary rise, transformation, and brutal end of Muammar Gaddafi, the Lion of Libya, a boy of the desert. Gaddafi was born in 1942 near the ancient city of Sirte into the Qaddafi tribe. Libya at the time was under Italian colonial rule, and life for Bedouin families was unforgiving. Poverty was common, but Gaddafi's father insisted his son get an education, a rarity in rural Libya. At school, Gaddafi encountered Egyptian teachers shaped by their own country's revolution. They taught more than math and grammar. They taught liberation, national dignity, and Arab unity. These ideas electrified Gaddafi. Above all, he admired one man, Egypt's president Gamal Abdel Nasser, the charismatic symbol of anti-imperialism. Inspired by Nasser, teenage Gaddafi led protests against Libya's monarchy, got expelled for vandalizing school property during a demonstration, and relocated to Misrata to continue his studies. He obsessively read about leaders who reshaped nations, from Abraham Lincoln to Mao Zedong to Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. The seed of a future strongman was taking root, forged in the military. In 1963, Gaddafi joined the Royal Military Academy in Benghazi. The irony was glaring. He was being trained in an institution heavily influenced by British officers, the very people he wanted out of Libya. His defiance was obvious. He refused to learn English, clashed with instructors, and had poor grades. But academics weren't his priority, sounder power was. That same year, he created a secret underground group within the army, the Free Officers Movement, modeled after Nasser's revolutionary network in Egypt. These men would eventually become the backbone of Libya's coup. After graduating, the Libyan army sent him to Britain for training in 1966. The immense gap between British prosperity and Libyan poverty hardened his political resolve. When he returned home, Libya had struck oil, and everything changed. Libya before the coup. Oil discovered in 1959 made Libya suddenly rich, but the benefits were hoarded by King Idris and his elite circle. Ordinary Libyans remained trapped in poverty. Corruption flourished, and discontent simmered beneath the surface. The monarchy's inaction during the 1967 Arab-Israeli War enraged the public, who felt Idris had bowed to Western interests. Protests surged across major cities, labor strikes escalated, and Libya was teetering on the edge. Western intelligence watched nervously, but they were watching the wrong men. The 1969 revolution, a coup nobody saw coming. On the night of August 31st, 1969, while King Idris was abroad for medical treatment, Gaddafi and his free officers launched their long-planned operation. Within hours, airports, barracks, radio stations, and government institutions fell under their control. It was so meticulously executed that by dawn on September 1st, the monarchy was paralyzed, and not a single major power had anticipated it. For several days, no one knew who the new leader was. Then a young, confident colonel appeared on national radio declaring the birth of the Libyan Arab Republic. The public rejoiced. They had not only lost a king, they had gained a revolutionary hero. Reform, wealth, and the Green Revolution. Gaddafi refused any rank higher than colonel, claiming he lived simply for the people. But make no mistake, he held absolute authority. He shifted the capital back to Tripoli, launched agricultural reforms, redistributed land, and encouraged peasants to become farmers. Then came his boldest move, nationalizing foreign-controlled oil, a direct challenge to the world's most powerful companies. Oil prices surged. Libya's per capita income soared above that of Britain and Italy. Roads, hospitals, and schools spread across the country. He doubled minimum wages, banned child marriage under 16, introduced equal pay for women, and made education and healthcare free. Across the Arab world, Gaddafi was hailed as Nasser's successor, the new champion of Arab nationalism. But shadows were forming, the turn toward tyranny. As Gaddafi consolidated power, paranoia crept into his rule. Political parties were outlawed, dissidents were executed, sometimes publicly. Foreign languages were banned, newspapers were shut down. The state dictated clothing, behavior, even social interactions. His revolutionary council grew uneasy. In 1976, a coup attempt by his own colleagues was crushed. Gaddafi dissolved the council and ruled alone from 1977 onward. Libya had become a one-man state. Public executions were broadcast on television. Fear replaced the early optimism. Foreign enemies and the Mad Dog label. Gaddafi's aggressive anti-Western policies, global funding of militant groups, and pursuit of regional influence made him a global antagonist. The U.S. accused him of sponsoring attacks, including the 1986 Berlin nightclub bombing that killed American soldiers. In response, President Ronald Reagan ordered massive airstrikes on Libya. Bombs fell on Tripoli and Benghazi. Gaddafi survived, but his young adopted daughter was killed. Reagan branded him the Mad Dog of the Middle East. More tragedies followed. In 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 was bombed over Lockerbie, killing 270 people. Libya was blamed and hit with crushing UN sanctions. Libya's economy nosedived. Gaddafi grew more isolated, but he refused to bend. A surprising ally, Mandela and Africa. While the West saw him as a terrorist, Africa viewed him very differently. Gaddafi had funded liberation movements across the continent, including the ANC during apartheid. Nelson Mandela publicly thanked him after his release in 1990, calling him a friend in dark times. Gaddafi championed African unity, poured billions into African development, and helped form the African Union in 1999. Many Africans celebrated him as a visionary who resisted Western dominance. But time and global politics were closing in. A shift toward peace. Too late. In the early 2000s, desperate to lift sanctions and regain international recognition, Gaddafi changed course. He condemned terrorism, aided U.S. intelligence after 9/11, compensated Lockerbie victims, and dismantled parts of Libya's weapons programs. Relations with the West improved, but distrust lingered. And inside Libya, anger simmered. Poverty returned, corruption soared, and youth unemployment exploded. The stage was set for collapse. The Arab Spring, the beginning of the end. In 2011, the Arab world ignited. Tunisia and Egypt toppled their rulers in days. Libya caught fire next. Protests erupted in February. Gaddafi insisted they were foreign-backed extremists. Violence escalated. Western nations seized the moment. On February 26th, the UN imposed sanctions. Days later, NATO jets thundered across Libyan skies, striking Gaddafi's forces. The West called it humanitarian intervention. But airstrikes also killed Gaddafi's son and 3 grandchildren. Libya descended into a full civil war. NATO bombed from above while rebels pushed from below. By summer, Tripoli fell. Gaddafi fled, The Final Hours, a lion trapped. His story is not just about power, but about how power transforms those who wield it, and how quickly the world turns on anyone who refuses to kneel. And that brings us to the end of the rise and fall of Muammar Gaddafi. If you found this deep dive interesting, insightful, or eye-opening, make sure to hit that like and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the stories that shaped our world.